This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm delighted to be joined by Amer Abdallah out here in Miami. Amer, it's been a week or so since we last saw each other, so how have you been since then?
Alhamdulillah, blessed. Everything is great, thank you.
That's good to hear. Now, obviously, unfortunately, one bit of bad news, very bad news for yourselves. Jean Pascal tested positive for 4 different performance-enhancing drugs. Firstly, as I've asked Badou, I asked Jonathan, what was your reaction to finding out that news? 3 originally, and then 1, I believe, broke yesterday as well.
I was sitting in Detroit in our OSP office headquarters, and Leonard called me, and I was in the middle of a meeting. I said, Leonard, I'll call you back, and then he called me again, and I said, oh God, this has got to be important. So I picked up the phone, I left the meeting, and he said, are you sitting down? And I said, Leonard, don't say it, man. He goes, Amer, I need you to sit down. And I said, what is it? And he said, Pascal tested dirty. And I was like, man, I knew it. We knew it the first fight. We suspected it the first fight. Again, giving everybody the benefit of the doubt here. We suspected it the first fight. We verified it the second fight. And before we went in, we told Leonard, in Mayweather Promotions that for the agreement on this fight is we want full VADA testing. And once the bout got done, Mayweather Promotions said, absolutely, we're going to do that. So they enabled and they launched the VADA testing, and here we are. So the first time he tested positive for 3, and then the second time, the quantities actually doubled. They were higher the second time, they were elevated, and then the third time, now he's got a 4th one. So I wouldn't be surprised if this week he's got a 5th one. But he doesn't know about the EPO. It's only injected. It's not an ingestible, it's an injectable. So he was injected with it. And secondly, is that disappears from what we talked to these experts, and we know nothing about this stuff. They said it disappears in 18 to 24 hours. So he didn't expect VADA to show up at the door and Dr. Goodman to do the great job that she's doing and say, hey, go ahead and let's get tested. He did. He's dirty. Whoever's responsible for it is an absolute fucking pig.
Amer, you, Badou, and Jonathan, and kind of the entire team have said you felt that John might have been on something for the first fight. Was there any VADA testing in place for that first fight?
No, and we requested it. For whatever reason, it didn't happen. The Georgia State Athletic Commission tested him, but these guys that he brings around him and whoever's giving it to him think that they can beat the cycles, and they can. And when it comes time to test, it's not available. It doesn't show anymore. There's no traces of it. The problem is with VADA, you don't know when they're coming. They'll show up at your house. They'll show up at the gym. They'll show up anywhere you are. And thankfully for us, thank God, they tested him. He was positive. He didn't expect for them to test. And it is what it is, man. Listen, at the end of the day, he's a cheater. And here's the problem. And I think we did the interview before. I'm sorry, with IFL we did it. We said, and the notion is, I'm 5% mad that Badou didn't get his redemption, that he didn't get the title, and that after knocking Pascal out, his financial purse moving forward would have been triple or quadruple. That's 5% of my anger. The other 95% comes from this pig was okay stripping Badou from his health, his family, his livelihood, his everything that he does so that he can get a win. He is a high-priced prostitute. That's what he is. He got bought to do that and to take a man away from his health. And that's the lowest of the low of humanity.
What would be the correct punishment for somebody who tests positive, certainly in Jean Pascal's case, who tested positive for 4 different substances? What's the correct punishment now? Because it certainly started to become more of a talking point with fighters testing positive around the world for a variety of performance-enhancing drugs.
Let me ask you this, brother. If I grabbed the knife and I tried to slice you and then Leonard jumped in and saved you and pushed you away, does that mean that I'm okay? That means I go to jail, I get prosecuted, and I should never be able to be on this stage again. And that's exactly what should happen for Pascal. 1, there should be criminal charges. Number 2, there should be civil charges, because Badou is going to cost him the title, his redemption, and future fights. And number 3, he should never be able to step foot in the ring again.
The show does go on though, and you move towards the Dervin Kalina fight. How difficult was it to get a fight over the line at such short notice?
Well, listen, here's the thing. You have a good team around you, and I told Leonard, I think that night or that weekend that when we found out over the 2 or 3 days, we probably ended up, I probably got 6-7 hours of sleep total for the 3 days. And it was just, a lot of work, a lot of background work. And what a lot of people don't know is what goes into a replacement. You've got to make sure that physicals are good. You got to make sure that he's active. You got to make sure, that all of those check marks are done. the financials all work. There's a lot behind the scenes. So I'm grateful to Mayweather Promotions. I'm grateful to Leonard Ellerby and Floyd for being able to find a replacement. And they did, they gave us a couple of options. Some guys were too heavy. Some guys, it didn't make sense. This guy made sense. 15-0, 13 knockouts. We're going to take the fight. God willing, and inshallah, we get the win and we move on.
I know it's early doors yet, but have you thought about what will be next for Badou? I know that a lot of it's kind of changed with regards to the Pascal situation, but moving forwards, what will be the new plan?
Well, the plan is right now is we focus on Sunday. We focus on a big win. Badou looks great. This is the best I've seen him look, and I know it's so cliche-ish to say, but it's the best I've seen him look. Coach Larry Wade's got him in the best shape. Jonathan Banks has got him in the best boxing IQ. So the camp was sound. It's beautiful. It's great. We get the big win, and then we talk about, we'll sit down with the team and see what we want to do moving forward. But we've got a lot of options, and that's a great thing, and that's a blessing in itself.
Just moving forward, just get your thoughts on the headline fight as well. Floyd Mayweather, Logan Paul, your thoughts on it. Boxer, YouTuber, again, just your thoughts.
Boxing has changed and it's evolved since, the KSI Logan fight. They really brought a whole different culture moving forward. In the very first fight, when KSI fought Logan in Manchester, Liam, KSI's manager, had invited Badou to the fight, and we came out, and Badou was like, "Man, what is this?" I said, "Man, just check this out." We went to the arena. I called Prince Nassim Hamed. I said, "You want to go to the fight?" And he goes, "What fight?" I go, "There's a big fight in Manchester." He goes, "Man, there's no fight in Manchester. I know about it." I said, "Champ, I'm telling you, there's a fight in Manchester." So then he called me back later. He's like, "Wait a second, my son just told me." His son's 10 years old. He said, "My son just told me, are you talking about the YouTube fight?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Man, let's go." So Badou and Prince Nassim and I and his son, we went to the fight, and it was mobbed. And we looked around, and we were like, what? There's a new culture. There's a new fight game in town. So that's evolved. And, and Jake fought on that card against Deji, KSI's little brother. And then that went to, a second Logan fight, which did phenomenal numbers on DAZN. And, we had the fortune of being, KSI's management team in the United States for his training camp. And that, by the way, that's how I met Vidal Riley, who we signed. So this thing has really taken a big turn. There was a little bit of a spark. There was enough amount of air that was on it, and now it's a wildfire. Now everybody's coming out. You've got the YouTube TikTokers event next week. You've got KSI possibly hinting at coming back with some of these other guys. Of course, Logan now landing the fight with the pound-for-pound king, the best fighter of our era, arguably in history, and for a great amount of money. So there's a lot to be said about that. It's a new culture. That's the thing.
How far do you think that side to boxing can go now? How much longer do you think it will be around?
I'll tell you what. Until Jake Paul gets knocked out, this is going to keep going. So the more that Jake strategically picks his fights, and they're doing a good job doing it. I like Tyron Woodley. I don't know how good his boxing is, but it's a big name. If he beats him, that would be massive for this. And if he loses, I think that's the end unless KSI decides to come back. But, BJ Flores and J. Leon Love and the people that he has around him are doing a good job picking the right guys. And now Showtime's involved, so it only manifests and it gets bigger until Jake loses. Until that happens, man, this kid's got the whole boxing world by the neck.
I just want to have a word on Vidal Riley as well, as you mentioned him there. I know you was looking to get him on the card. What happened with him in the end?
We had, Leonard called me and gave me the opportunity to have Vidal on the card. This is a huge event. It's a big platform. Guys would love to be on this card, and thankfully I've got two of my fighters on there. Badou Jack is the co-main event, and then Vidal. And Vidal, he demands and he has a huge following. So these fans want to see him fight. And we had to pull out of the Gervonta Davis-Yurkos Gamboa fight the first time because of an injury. And we got him an opportunity, on the Tyson Jones card on the pay-per-view portion. We had to pull out of that one for an injury. So then we had this fight. So Vidal's like, come on, get me back in. He had a great training camp. And then, there was a situation getting him from the UK to the United States. And without getting into too much detail, we tried to get some options. They didn't work. And it's just unfortunate for him. So he's sidelined for this fight too. But we got to keep him active, and I think taking him to the UK and fighting him locally there, so we don't have any disruptions, is the way to go. I think he's very happy with that. Him and his father Derek are doing a great job over there, and you'll have a new training team put together there, and then we'll sit with Mayweather Promotions and we'll see what the deal is going forward. But they did offer the opportunity. They put him on a big stage, and now we just got to make sure that we can keep the kid active because he deserves it.
That's something I was going to ask you. There's a lot of promoters in the UK, whether it be small hall or the big ones like the Matchroom or like Frank Warren with Queensbury. Do you think realistically working with one of those promoters or one of the small hall shows will be the way forwards, at least whilst the pandemic is still in the way that it is around the world?
Yeah, of course. Our stronghold and our connections are in the United States, but I have a wonderful relationship with MTK. And they move a lot of guys there very well. So we'll sit down and we'll talk and we'll strategize and make sure. The bottom line is Vidal's got to get moved. That's the thing. He's got to start moving. He's got to start fighting. He's 4-0 now. He's been pro for almost nearly 2 years. It's time to really start moving with this kid. So we would like him to be 8-10-0 by now. And he's still young. That's what the great thing is. He's got a lot of time on his side. As long as his body stays healthy and as long as he stays committed to boxing with all the other great ventures that he has around him, which I believe he will. I think that he's got, he's going to take this cruiserweight division by storm.
All right, Amer, we'll leave it there now. Leave you to enjoy the rest of your day. I appreciate your time as always, and thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.
Always a pleasure. One of my favorite sites. Good job, guys.